Welcome back to the Olga S. Pérez Show. I'm your host, Olga. How you doing? Maybe some of you knew what I was going to say. And if you're new to my channel, awesome to have you. And if you've been here before, welcome back, my love. For those of you who know, I've had Robert on my show before. Love him. Can't love enough. But this show for me is extremely special. And it should be for you too. Because I got tons of questions. I got tons to say about this. I think it's extremely important, historical, biblical. Anyway, so Robert is here and the party gets started once I do my intro and you get to know who you're dealing with over here, okay? Starting now. Hi, I'm Olga S. Pérez, coming at you live, unleashing the power of perspective, one reaction at a time. I've been a life strategist for over 20 years, and I'm here to share my insights on trending topics, current news, and music videos that we all want to talk about with love and humor. With love and humor, okay? Brace yourselves. Please welcome Mr. Robert Phoenix.
Hey, Olga.
Hi, Robert. Great to see you. Great to have you.
Good to see you too. Hey, what does the S stand for?
Oh, that's a good one. You didn't know that? Ooh. So my full name is, well, maybe I shouldn't say my full name for people that want to dox me. But the S is my father's last name. Because, you know, in Europe, in Spain specifically, they use both last names, the father and the mother, in that order. And so I'm Olga Schmutz, or Schmutz in German.
Right.
And the fact that people could not look me up, people would look for me and they couldn't spell the name right.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, because I didn't want to get rid of my father, because I'm very proud to be both, you know?
Right.
So I didn't want to take it out of the equation. And then I also thought, because I'm writing a book, I was going to do the whole J.K. Rowling route. I was going to be like O.S. Pérez.
O.S. Pérez, yeah.
Just because I also don't want my book to be like pigeonholed because it's a woman writing it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, that's what the S is.
I think I knew that. But yeah, thanks for reminding me. I was just like curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Okay.
it's great question. And because some people that know me for a long time, like, oh, what are you, ashamed of your name? I'm like, what? I mean, I have friends that literally call me Schmutz. Hey, Schmutz, what are you doing? You know, like,
right.
Hey, Schmutz, been a long time. Or hey, Schmutz. And I love that. But it just wasn't working when I was coaching and people were trying to look me up. They just couldn't find me. So that was it. Like, everybody pretty much knows how to spell Pérez.
Right. And if not, they're going to be well aware and more acquainted as we move into the future, right?
Yes. And there's more to it too, because my mom used to say to me, she's like, you know, you can't use that last name. You know, your father's side of the family, they never had good luck. She's like, that name is tainted because it means dirt. But like in Yiddish, all the Jews that I know and have met me throughout life, they always were like, are you Yiddish? You know? And they were like, you know what schmutz means, right? Schmutz, it's dirty. And because my father was in construction, and not him particularly, but his ancestry, even some of my uncles have construction businesses. My dad was an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it meant. It was like somebody who, you know, fixes stuff and then their aprons would be full of dirt. So they were like, nah, there's the schmutz.
Yeah.
There we go. But it goes even deeper than that, because apparently the spelling was incorrect. Or they're not sure if when my father's side of the family came to the U.S., and they changed it on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Where I don't know why they would change it to schmutz. Like, we don't really know. But anyway.
Well, thanks for the share. That clears a lot up.
Yeah. So you know, with the whole eclipse. So here's my thing.
What, there's an eclipse?
Now, we know we have the lunar eclipse on the 25th.
Yeah.
But it's the solar eclipse that I specifically want to pick your brain. Because I believe, not just that I believe, okay, so in a nutshell, in my experience, and you let me know what you think as an astrologer, I feel like most of the times, not just in my lifetime and my own personal experience, everybody even around me, that rarely when I predict something based on their chart and their eclipse, it actually rarely happens right at the eclipse. It's always later, maybe a week. And you know how there's like maybe a 6-month window. Anyway, so I believe that this eclipse is like no other in the sense that I think it's biblical. Like I think this has been written in the Bible. But you tell me. So, you know how I'm sure you've heard at this point. I've listened to all your podcasts, both 50 Minutes of Flame, your weather forecast. I mean, guys, by the way, if I haven't posted it, I know I tagged you in this video, but I'll post all of Robert's links. But because you do like the 15 Minutes of Flame on Boxcast, anyway, we can talk about that also as we wrap up. But I watch everything. I listen to you in every way. But I don't think I've remember hearing you say whether you think this is biblical. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
and you have an event, right? That's happening on.
No, well, I'm going to be speaking at an event here in the Hill Country. So I dabble in the Bible. I'm not a big Bible person. I'm not a big. I would say that in my soul, I'm probably like a Christian, but in my Sundays, everything else that goes along with it, I'm probably not. Not to say that I don't dismiss Christianity. I respect people and their faith, and I clearly respect Christians. I have no beef with Christians, or I don't have any beef with Muslims. And I'd like to think that in my daily life that I practice principles that Sananda Yeshua would practice in his life, right? It's like, that's what it's always been like for me. And so I'm not a huge Bible person. I know there are a lot of people that are. I know that there are some biblical references here, like the eclipse is going to go through, Nineveh, like all these cities named Nineveh along the eclipse path. I think there's both eclipses, the 2017 eclipse and this eclipse, are both going through a place called Rapture, Indiana.
I know, right?
So if you're looking for signs, there are plenty of signs here. Where I live in the Hill Country in Texas, in Kerrville. Kerrville is the center of the last eclipse that came through in October, and this eclipse, which is coming up in April. So when you look at it on a map, you'll see Kerrville right in the center of both eclipses.
Both?
Yeah, for the one from October and this one. Kerrville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Last October, right?
Right. So, not 2017.
No. That started in Oregon.
Right. Go ahead.
Well, this last eclipse also started in Oregon, but it came down and then came through Texas, and then we were at Totality in Kerrville, and I did have an event on that weekend. So this one is coming up from off the coast of Mexico through Sinaloa, and then through Kerrville, and then it heads northeast. So it's quite interesting that Kerrville, where I am, is in the epicenter of both eclipses, and that Kerrville has the same latitude as Jerusalem. So that's kind of like, it's kind of weird and interesting that the place that I'm in is sort of the epicenter of both of these eclipses in the same latitude as Jerusalem. And the other weird thing is that we have this hill outside of the city where there's this giant cross, right? And it's sort of like is this landmark for this area. So we have that. And then on the other side of town, down by the river, we have the Stonehenge in the hill country. So we have these kind of, symbols of like, the Abrahamic faith, and then all the way at the other side of town, we have, this kind of reproduction of Neolithic, pagan kind of, architecture and symbolism. So it's kind of an interesting place to be, just in terms of those kinds of symbols. But as far as biblical goes, I mean, what are we carrying out here? End times? Are we carrying out Revelation? I mean, is this the direction of the biblical version of the eclipse? I don't know, but it feels very much like there's a red alert that's being sounded. And if you've been paying attention to, like Austin and all these other cities, and I think even was it the UN or somebody like some global body has said, well, you've got to prepare for 3 days with food, and you've got to have your cars filled up with. I mean, why are we being told all of this?
Right. When they never did that before.
Never. So,
I mean, they're telling people to stay home, don't go to school. Their school's closing.
Right. And this is a really interesting phenomenon. So what's going on here? Is this the chicken, the egg? I mean, are they piggybacking on the eclipse, knowing that it's going to bring with it a certain amount of intensity in areas? Of course, it's going to get everybody's attention. Right. And are they like psychically driving the eclipse? Right? Are they feeding into the energy of this thing? Is that what's happening? Or are they aware that something is about to happen? And are they theoretically giving people, first of all, I don't trust any governing body.
Exactly.
I just don't, right?
Right.
But at the same time, sometimes the messages, the messages from God fall through the cracks. And maybe this is one of those messages.
There's so many ways to
stay home and not look at you should be able to do whatever you want to do. If you want to look at the eclipse, look at the eclipse. Some people say it's a curse, or it's bad energy. Well, I looked at the eclipse the last time I was here. It was here, other than the passing of my mother, which happened 2.5 weeks ago.
I'm sorry.
Which I would not blame on the eclipse. I wouldn't say that my life has been terrible in the aftermath of the eclipse. So, do whatever you want to do with the eclipse. I mean, go out, look at it. I mean, it's, tune into it, whatever it means, whatever it's going to mean.
See, I think I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like there's a difference between the actual day of the eclipse, where I feel like I'm with you on this one. Look at it. But if there were, which I believe there will be a day in our very near future, that there will be a blackout of 3 days. Now, is it going to be just a blackout of like internet, electricity, right? Or a literal blackout, right? Where we have no sun or the moon for 3 days, right? Could be both. We don't know. And whether you think biblically or not, well, no. If you think biblically, right, one of the things you're not supposed to, like, you should close all your windows and not look outside for 3 days. And you know how curiosity killed the cat. So who wouldn't want to look out the window to see if your neighbors have their lights on or anything like that, right?
Mhm.
So to me, I know I would follow my instinct that if we have not the day of the eclipse, but for me, it's going to happen between the April 8th and somewhere in May. Either way, if it happened in July, I don't care. If one day I wake up and everything's pitch dark and I got no communications, I'm not going to look out the window. But the day of the eclipse, yes, I will be looking at the eclipse. I did it in 2017 and I will do it again. But you know what I'm saying? So I have specific like days or reasons I'll look out or not look out. But I do believe, okay, I know this is a little segue. Do you follow like Owen Benjamin, Cat Turd on Twitter? Because Nino Rodriguez.
I have to subscribe to Cat Turd, so no.
I don't subscribe to him either, but he shows up in my feed anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because I follow like Nino.
And if Owen pops up in my feed, I'll read some of his tweets.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I'm telling you this because they just lost. Owen is about to, like, he just posted today that his dog is like, I think. And then Nino was like, he just said goodbye. And then Cat Turd apparently had some accident. I don't want to get into how, but I was like, do you think the lunar eclipse that's coming? Because I feel that a lot of times, not just an eclipse, but a full moon, things can happen 5 days or 5 days. But I just thought, wow, why are these people's pets? Or like, do you think?
Isn't it usually like a week and a half before and a week and a half after? I think that's the marker for eclipses. So you've got about a 3-week window.
But what about the pets? Like, why the pets this time?
The pets, I don't know. I have a friend who's putting her dog down today. So, pets wouldn't really show up in Libra or Aries. They would show up in sidereal Virgo, but not Libra or Aries. Yeah, I mean, so I feel like for me the eclipse is more of a harbinger of what's to come. And I feel like the eclipse is this initiation point into a much larger transit with Saturn and Neptune conjuncting in Aries at the end of 2025. And to me, that conjunction is an absolute game changer. And
when's that conjunction?
At the end of 2025.
Okay.
So it's very rare when you have two planets, outer planets, move simultaneously into the same sign. We saw that in the 1960s, sort of, with Pluto and Uranus, but Pluto had been ahead of Uranus. Uranus in Leo going into Virgo. And then we saw it again a little bit in the 90s with the Neptune-Uranus conjunction in Capricorn. But this is different. Like, they're literally changing. It's like a changing of the guard is really what it is at the same time. And generally speaking, in astrological language, Saturn and Neptune would be considered malefics, right? So you have these theoretical malefic planets moving into Aries, and Saturn in Aries is in detriment. It's one of the worst places for Saturn, because Aries is all about action and expressing one's energy and will. It's male energy, and Saturn represses that. It's a repressive energy in Aries. Aries. And Neptune in Aries, well, if you go back to the fall of Fort Sumter, which is the beginning of the Civil War, that's the last time Neptune went into Aries. I mean, it literally went into the Aries. Neptune went into Aries when the North surrendered Fort Sumter after one day of a siege. So that's a Civil War aspect.
Right.
Neptune in Aries, and then you throw Saturn in, and it just when I first started to look at that energy, and somebody who's intuitive, you'd probably understand this. Like you feel into the thing, right? You feel into the aspect. You feel into the transit. You can understand it intellectually. You can look at it historically, but it's a whole different experience when you feel into it. And to feel into it, you have to, I think, have as little bias as possible, because we know what Saturn is, and we know what Neptune, we know what those things are. So they're going to color our experience, to some extent, because we're filtering the symbolism, through our processing. But when you feel into it, that's a completely different thing. And when I feel into the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, it feels evil. And I don't like to talk about evil in a lot of ways.
Stuff, right.
Because it's almost cliche to talk about evil, right? Like it's clear, like, if you're on Twitter long enough and you have the right feeds, you'll get your daily dosage of doom before noon.
You're right.
And, I don't really like to add to that discussion. But when I look at that, that's how it feels. It feels evil. And it feels like the gathering of a force that is all-consuming. And when the first hit that I got with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction was, somebody is going to seize manufacturing and assets. Like, to me, like, this is the police state. This is the beginning of the police state. Yeah. This is when they go in and they take everything for whatever reason, national emergency, whatever it is. And I feel like this eclipse is the precursor to that. Like, we will get a glimpse into where things are going.
Right.
Because one of the things that eclipses do is they highlight in some way things that are not seen. Like the shadow of the thing is revealed.
Right.
So eclipses are really interesting for that. They can be very, in a weird way, they can be very illuminating. But what we're seeing is quite different than what we would normally see. It's like what is hidden is revealed.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're paying attention to this eclipse, you'll have a telescreen in the future. This eclipse will tell us where we're going.
So,
and specifically because it's the United States, so one of the things, and I never really thought about this until just talking about it with you, because the eclipse goes through Mexico, United States, and Canada. I thought to myself, like, this is the North American Union, right? This is when all three entities are joined together. And that would make sense. If you looked at something like a Saturn-Neptune conjunction, and all of a sudden, all three of these entities become one entity. And then, they're all kind of pooled into, some larger conglomeration of resource and industry, but we're no longer the United States. Right? I could see that. And this eclipse, again, it joins all three together, right? So if you want to understand where this is going, pay attention to this eclipse. And to your point, pay attention to the aftermath of the eclipse. Because we'll get some very clear signs about
it's
future.
funny. It's funny when you
the actual
just said
astrology
that
of the
there
day
was a
was-
lag.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? Like right when you said that, there was a little lag. Like somebody's trying to control this stream right now. There, you probably didn't pick
Well,
it
I'm
up.
hearing
but-
myself as
No, it wasn't you. It wasn't your mic, anything. It was something in the internet that went like, ooh, he's about to say something. Let's go. Ooh. Anyway, whatever. Just so you know.
The astrology of the eclipse is fascinating because when you look at it, there's only one planet that's in square. I think it's Mercury and Pluto are in square with each other on the eclipse. And the actual pattern of the planets looks, so in astrology, they have different types of charts. They're called the Jones types. And the chart pattern for the eclipse is what they call a locomotive. And so you look at the planet that would the superior position, and then the planet that would be in the inferior position would be the start and finish. And there's a whole sequence that you would interpret from station to station through that locomotive arc. So the first planet is Uranus, which is disruptive.
Right.
And then the last planet is Pluto, which is death, transformation.
Hades, the underground, the underworld.
It's the underworld, yeah. I mean, so it's a really interesting kind of sequence of events, right? But on that day, Mars and Saturn are connected together. This is a Mars-Saturn
On what day?
conjunction.
What day?
The eclipse.
The 8th. The solar eclipse, April 8th.
Which is a Mars-Saturn conjunction in Pisces. Yeah. So Mars-Saturn conjunction in Pisces. And when you look at Mars-Saturn in the sort of the string, right? Or if you're using the locomotive, like it would be the last cars before the Pluto caboose. So there's something about Mars-Saturn that figures in the outcome of Pluto, which is the resolution of what starts with Uranus. And when you see Mars, Saturn together, again, Saturn is the state, right? Saturn's the state, and Mars is action, energy, police, martial law. I mean, all that stuff we associate, and it's in Pisces too. So that's a whole other kind of thing to factor in here with the eclipse. So it's a really, I mean, I think it is a very pivotal moment in our history. Very pivotal.
Yeah, I believe that. I know that.
If you go back and look at 2017, when we had the last full solar eclipse, which started at the 33rd state, which is Oregon, and ended on the 33rd parallel in Florida. That eclipse literally cut the country in half. And we have been house divided ever since.
That's right. That's right.
Right. We have been dealing with issues that relate to, again, like go back to pre-Civil War America. How many times have we heard about racism and slavery and reparation? And this has been the hue and cry, since 2017, really, right? Like, and if it's not, then they'll find a way to, throw it into the public dialogue. Everything has become about race, really, since Trump went into the White House. Like,
right.
Once Trump went into the White House, they just turned the race amplifier to 11, like Spinal Tap.
Yeah, because Obama did start that. And it's not because of his race. But he started that shit. But you're right.
That's where Black Lives Matter was formed.
Yeah.
D. Ray McKesson, who was one of the main members of Black Lives Matter, is recorded multiple times going to the White House to meet with Obama. So, yeah, it all started there, and of course we have, the beginning of the Martyr program with Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown, and all the way leading up to George. But those are all, occurrences that are echoes of a pre-Civil War America, right? I mean, that's kind of what the message has been in the last 3 to 4 years. Actually 7 years, which is a Saturn cycle. And then you fast forward, and then you go to Neptune in Aries, which is at the same position that it was during the Civil War. Like, oh, that's interesting, right? And then when you look at if you just take those two eclipses, 2017 and then 2024, they make a cross, right? They make a cross, and
funny you say that. I was going to get there. Look at I'm sorry. I don't know what
that cross is also reminiscent of the Confederate flag.
Here's Stonehenge Faro. I don't know if I said that right. What about the X marking, the spot over the Pfizer? I didn't know about, did you know about that? But it's funny that you just mentioned the X thing, and this was just posted a couple minutes ago.
The X marking the spot over where Pfizer has its research and development operation.
I didn't know that. Did you?
Which part of the X?
Of the X.
Which part of the X?
Good question. Hey, Stonehenjo, I think, or Hen.
Because if you look at here, let me show you this. I don't know if I can do.
Yeah, you can.
You go to my Twitter feed, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So shout out to Garden Girl who sent this to me. So let's see.
Just so you guys, while he's doing,
so this is the X, and this is Kerrville, Texas. I don't know about any Pfizer testing facility in Kerrville.
Yeah, is there?
Right. So this is Kerrville is the epicenter of.
Are you serious?
That's what I told you.
April 8th.
Yeah.
You're literally the epicenter. I think I've heard you say that in your podcast, but I don't know why I thought it was the last eclipse.
And we were the epicenter on October 14th.
That is what I thought. Not again.
No, again.
Holy shit. And you just moved there.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the hill country, but I moved to Kerrville in December. And this cross is, they have, this is the cross that is connected. They have a big cross at the far side of town. And that Kerrville would be the same latitude as Israel. So I don't know if this is what Stonehenge Hope is talking about, but this is the theoretical epicenter of both eclipses.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I had no idea that had anything to do with Pfizer, but I mean, I just clearly because of the going along with Texas and the whole, I was about to say immigration, but it's not immigration, you know, it's the invasion.
Yeah.
Of the border.
Yeah. I mean, that's another part of this eclipse that has me on edge.
Exactly. Thank you. See, now you're talking like there is some edge. I'm not a fear-mongering person.
No, this is an edgy eclipse. I'm not. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
Thank you.
It's an edgy eclipse.
Thank you.
I'm gonna speak at an event on Saturday before the eclipse, but I had no desire to hold an event during this eclipse. None at all.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. I mean, spidey senses say, head on a swivel.
I'm just laughing because I love the way you just said that. I don't think it's funny. Head on a swivel. Well, so as we said from the get-go, I mean, I'm not a Bible scholar, but of course, I think I've told you I was locked in a convent for years when I was young. But I don't remember everything in the Bible.
I think a lot of people try to fit prophecy into things so their wet dream rapture revelation comes true. I'm sorry.
No, I totally get it.
That's how I feel.
And I'm with you. But
I think the rapture, I think the rapture.
I don't think it's going to be a rapture.
I think revelation has already happened.
Yeah. Yes. I agree with you. I don't think rapture.
I feel, what do they call it? The little time or whatever.
Well, what was the Jonah story? With the town Nineveh, right? What's the Jonah story? In a nutshell.
So this is where my Bible knowledge kind of falls off. The only Jonah I know is the Jonah and the whale.
That's it. That's the one.
He's swallowed by the whale.
So, but why was he swallowed by the whale to begin with? Because God was telling him.
The book of Jonah, set in the days of the Assyrian Empire, describes it as an exceedingly great city, being Nineveh, 3 days' journey in breadth, whose population at that time is given more than 120,000. Genesis 10, 11, 12 lists 4 cities.
Gee, are you reading this, or this is from memory? This is
reading this. We talk about it. Nineveh, Rehoboth, Calah, and Resen, ambiguously stating that either Resen or Calah is the great city. The ruins of Kuyunukik, Nimrod, Karamalesh, and Korespad form the 4 corners of an irregular quadrilateral. The ruins of the great city Nineveh, with the whole area included within the parallelogram, they form by lines drawn from one to the other, are generally regarded as consisting of these 4 sites. So they're like a mega city, a megalopolis. The description of Nineveh in Jonah likely was a reference to greater Nineveh, including the surrounding cities of Rehoboth, Calah, and Resen. The book of Jonah depicts Nineveh as a wicked city, worthy of destruction. God sent Jonah to preach to the Ninevites. And their coming destruction. And they fasted and repented because of this. As a result, God spared the city. When Jonah protests against this, God states he is showing mercy for the population who are ignorant of the difference between right and wrong, who cannot discern between their right hand and their left hand, and mercy for the beasts in the city. Nineveh's repentance and salvation from evil can be found in the Hebrew Tanakh, also known as the Old Testament, referred to in the Christian New Testament and Muslim Quran. To this day, Syriac and Oriental Orthodox churches commemorate the 3 days Jonah spent inside the fish during the fast of Nineveh. Some Christians observe this holiday by refraining from food and drink, with churches encouraging followers to refrain from dairy product, fish, and other meats. So the 3 days that you're referring to could also refer to the 3 days of fasting and preparation that Jonah was told to do in order to prepare to, I guess, receive the Spirit and preach the Spirit. So there's your Nineveh tale.
That's the thing that I'm going, okay, I have my own beliefs, I have my own feelings, I have my own visions. But the 3 keeps coming. 3 days of darkness, the 3 days, whether it's the Nineveh and all the coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. And I like the fact that I don't know, and I didn't know, and I asked you right here live, right? We didn't prep for this. This is totally real, raw, right? Unscripted. We only spoke for what, a couple seconds before, and I'm like, hey, Robert, just let me do the intro. And then, but I gave you a little heads up, but just what, seconds, right? Before we went live. And I said, hey, just so you know, I want to pick your brain with like this whole eclipse with, in reference specifically to the Bible, because I know as an astrologer, I believe that both are the same. But from what I've heard from you, because I follow you, I haven't followed you for a decade, but I followed you for the last couple years. And,
well, clearly there's astrotheology in the Bible, and you can find traces of astrology all throughout.
Exactly.
Sure.
Look to the stars. You want to answer? Look to the stars, right? Look up. Look into the sky. But I love that you stay always kind of, I don't know if because you're a Virgo, like there's a groundness about how you deliver and share your astrology. And so I'm very different than that. I'm very much where, I guess maybe like the typical, like, I'm telling you it's happening. Where you're like, all right, let's think about this. Let's not get carried away.
Yeah, I mean, there have been aspects before where I remember, like, I forget what it was. It was about a year ago. I don't know. I forget what the aspect was, but it was all over Twitter. People were, they were like, "Oh shit, this is going to happen. This is going to happen."
Oh yeah.
I'm like, nothing is going to happen.
Yeah. Whoa. What was that? That was just that was not too long ago.
Yeah, I said nothing is going to happen. It's going to come and it's going to go.
Right, kind of like KY or KY.
Y2K, yeah, K. Come before, come after. You like that one?
I love that one.
Yeah. All right. So no, but there are aspects though that when you see them, you're like they're undeniable.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example.
Yes.
And it was the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in 2020. I think, what was it? January 5th, I think, 2020. Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. Now that got my attention. And when I saw that, that was a holy shit moment for me. Because I deduced that conjunction was the end of time. And it was.
Yeah.
It was the end. So I was at an event in Austin. I think it was a few days after the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And I was one of 3 astrologers to speak about it. And the first guy spoke, and it was odd. It was a very odd presentation. And somebody asked him about Saturn-Pluto conjunction. And he said, it's over. It's done. And this is at the end. He and his girlfriend walked out. And it was just really odd. And it was somebody who I'd known a long time ago. And back when I knew that person, they were very upbeat and positive. I think his sun sign is a Sagittarius. And it was like he was very different. And I hadn't seen him in years, but it's like, man, this guy is he's really down, right? Really down, depressed. Anyway, so it was my turn, and I went to the chalkboard and I wrote the word time, and I circled it, and I said, who feels like there's no time? Right. And I got into this kind of concept of time. I said, very soon, time is going to run out, and wherever you are going to be in that place. And it will be very hard to move once you're in that place.
It's so funny because when you said that, the vision I got was that hourglass with the sand. And literally right when you were saying, right before you just said what you said, I saw that stretch.
Yeah.
As if they're stuck in that stretch. You get what I mean?
Well, that was just before COVID. So COVID breaks, I think, in February, right? And guess what happens? We eventually, time stops, right? Time stops.
That's right.
You don't get up and go to work. You stay home. Your kids don't get up and go to school. They stay home. All the events that were supposed to happen during that time, they don't happen. The Chinese New Year is not even celebrated.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right? I mean, how often do you cancel a calendrical event? Right? Like they stopped the NBA. There was no March Madness. They stopped the Olympics. Like, time fucking stopped. Right? And and people were trapped in their homes, basically. It was like you couldn't move. It's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And time really has not moved forward since then, if it has incrementally.
To me, it's sped up. It's definitely sped up.
We're in a new time now.
Yeah.
Like, this is a different time.
Yeah.
Like, the world that we knew ended on March 11th in 2020.
Yeah.
Because that's when the NBA canceled its season. And so by March 13th, Trump is declaring executive orders, right? So we're in a different time now. And the reason I'm just bringing that up is because that Saturn-Pluto conjunction was something that I was not trying to find a reasonable middle ground with. You can't deny it, right? Couldn't deny that. And so when I look at the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, I have very similar feelings, but different about that. And so this eclipse is a harbinger, and in Aries is energy that catalyzes, right? It's a cardinal sign. So it ignites. So it's a time of ignition. And again, just look around, just see what's happened over the past 3 years, right? We've had unabated migration into this country. And, people know the facts and figures around this, like who's coming here. Mostly fighting age young men, right? And the other thing too, this is something that I think is worth discussion, is this growing noise about houses and squatters.
Ha! Right. And, you know, the latest story, right, in Queens, the woman in Queens, I'm like,
Yeah.
did you see on Twitter it showed up? I actually have it pulled up here. Not because I wanted to change the subject, but I just happened to go, somehow I want to talk about this if we do get to it. And the fact that you're just this is just one story. Like we both know there's hundreds more, but
Why don't you play it? Play it.
Thank you. Screen sharing it. Did you see this?
I did see that.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me play it for you real quick.
Sure.
In case
No,
you didn't see it.
do the woman first.
The woman. Wait. Oh, because you know how Kyle Rittenhouse was also, but it had nothing to do with. What woman? Wait, tell me who is
Woman
it?
in New York who got her place.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Okay, hold on. 1 second. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna. Should I put like squatters? Can you see what I'm actually typing? No.
No.
Wait, squatter. How would you search it on here?
I would say New York woman squatter. SQUATTER.
Ay. Got it. I think I got. Well, at least this is the first thing here. I'm going to share. Can you see?
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
All right, let's play it.
I have video of you. Who are these people? Out the situation. But they're in my house, man. Relax. No.
To understand how this day ended,
We need the police right away.
with multiple 911 calls and arrests, we have to start at the beginning.
Adele, the hardest question is how do you say your name?
We met Adele Andaloro outside the home her parents left her in Flushing, Queens. She's in the process of selling it,
No, he locked it.
but she's been locked out. She claims squatters moved in on February 6 and refused to leave.
What's it like being here knowing you can't go inside of your own home?
It's enraging. It really is.
In New York, squatters have rights after 30 days.
By the time that someone does their investigation and they do their work and their job, we'll be well over the 30 days, and this man will have stolen my home. And now she's back.
Just after wrapping up our interview, a woman showed up.
What are you doing in the house? Are you renting this house? Why are you here?
She unlocked the front door, saw our cameras, and took off.
This is a different one.
It's open. Let's go in the house. It's open.
Adele and her daughter, with the property deed in hand, went inside.
This is my furniture. These are my curtains.
She didn't just find her belongings inside.
There's a man sleeping right there. Get out of my house.
She found two men.
How long have you lived here?
I moved in about 2 days ago.
They've called the police on me, and I've called the locksmith. I didn't come in illegally. The door was open.
Police started interviewing neighbors and looking for documents.
Do you have something that shows that you've been here for more than 30 days?
They took the man who told me he had been renting for 2 days out in handcuffs
They got one out.
and escorted the other guy off the property.
Now you're afraid to come out.
I'm not coming out. This house is empty. This is my home. My locksmith is on the corner waiting to change my locks. And it's not fair. It's not fair that I, as the homeowner, should be having to go through this.
How you doing?
Minutes later, a locksmith showed up, but police gave her a warning before they left.
I may end up in handcuffs today if this man shows up here and says that I have illegally evicted him. I said to them, let him take me to court the way I've been told to take him to court. But today, I'm not leaving my house.
Less than 10 minutes after police left and the locks were changed,
Do you know, Robert? Do you know her background?
the man who claims to be the
Is she Hispanic?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's the culture. I could feel her. I wasn't like profiling her the way she looked. It's the way she's talking. It's like no. Like in Espanol, she'd be like no. I know. I could go to court.
one actually leasing the house shows up.
Call the police again.
With the other guy, police took off the property.
Do you see this? This guy just literally broke down my door. Broke
Ay, ay,
through
ay.
myself and my daughter to get in here. This guy just forced himself into my house. No, he did not. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. And so did you. You broke through the front door.
Officer.
The man called the police on her.
So why is it that I have to leave and he doesn't have to leave?
Because technically he can't be kicked out. You need to go to court.
They consider this a landlord-tenant issue, and by law, it has
Robert,
to be
do you
handled through the
think
housing
this is
court,
not by
with
accident?
police.
This
No.
is by design. There's no fucking way a law is made for this. And I know this because, I've been an interpreter in court for specifically landlord-tenant shit. And every state's a little different, but I'm telling you straight up, this was put, like their orders. Okay, sorry. Let me shut this.
If you own
Let me tell you about how one of the times I stopped interpreting in court when in Philadelphia, it was about 10 years ago, started saying that if you're standing at a corner of a 7-Eleven, any corner, and you're doing nothing wrong, we can arrest you because we just put a new law in. This wasn't an old law, a new law that because of all the cop killings, then we have a right now. We can arrest you for no fucking reason. And I'm in this room with 300 people and I'm interpreting for like 3 or 4 people that are Spanish speaking. And it was so appalling to me how they did the whole thing. I was like, there's nothing legal about this or right about this. And I told the agency, I'm like, never call me again to go interpret for this shit. And they were like, why? What happened? And I told them, like, this is fucking disgusting. They're literally bragging. Oh, since you killed a few cops, we can just come down for no reason, arrest you, and you're fucked. Like, no rights. And then this kind of shit, which getting off topic. Sorry, Robert.
own this house, you would not want her
I
inside.
don't own the house. I don't own this.
Exactly,
Yes.
she does.
Yes, but then once again, you should know how the law works.
I do know how it works.
There's rules to the.
Look,
You
there's
gotta go to court
rules.
and send me to civil court.
He says he signed a lease in October, but wouldn't tell us with who.
Where
I
is
got
it?
proof longer than that.
Show us the proof.
But who are you for me to show? I showed it to cops.
Dan with Channel 7 News. If you don't want to show it, you don't
I'll
want to show
you the
it.
proof. Come here, brother. I like that.
I would like to see it.
He didn't show me a lease.
This is a bill.
This is-
A bill for work he says he had done to the house. He didn't show police a lease
Oh,
police department
I didn't
doesn't have
even
a
go
lease.
that far in
He's
the
got no
video,
documentation.
Robert.
Just bill.
Oh,
So Adele, you're getting arrested right now?
Being arrested.
For what?
For being in my.
Robert,
being in
do
my-
you see the sweater she's wearing? Do you see the cross there? Robert, are you still here? Did I lose you?
Yeah, I'm here. I can't see it. It's too small.
Okay, let me make it bigger.
Have the lease?
No.
He's got no documentation.
Just bills.
So Adele, you're getting arrested right now?
Being
I'm pausing. Watch as she turns.
For what?
Look at this X Hebrew letters.
It's a Z.
I'm
Isn't
not-
it? It says Z.
No, because it goes further here and down here.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's no such thing as coincidence.
for being in my own home.
Ooh.
And where's your lease?
And that maroon color. Okay, I'm sorry.
She's fighting the house. It's not her house anymore.
My deed
That's
is
what
current.
How is it not her house?
Arrested for
What do you mean?
unlawful
What? Robert, how is it not her house anymore? See how people can just say shit? It's not her house anymore. Oh.
eviction.
Yeah. Well,
She
so
changed the locks and I
Go ahead, Robert. Go ahead.
no. So the reason why I'm bringing this up
Oh, I love that you did.
is because when you look at the chart of the United States, the fourth house of the United States is Aries. And the fourth house is the home.
That's
Right.
right. That's right.
It's the home. It's where you grow up. You absorb your parental emotional influences and values.
Right.
So this eclipse, in addition to coming through Texas and cutting northeast, theoretically is going right through the fourth house of the United States,
Mm-hmm.
which gets into this whole idea of the home and ownership. And when you look at that transaction, that is ownership by force. That person forced themselves into that home, right? So the opposite of that would be Libra. Libra is the opposite of Aries, right?
Right.
So what
right.
do you do with Libra? You have a contract. Libra is about two people coming into contract with one another. You and I are having a Libra experience right now. You asked me to be in the show. I said yes. That's a contract, right? Aries is not about a contract. Aries is the barbarian storming the gates.
It's true. My parents got separated. My mother changed the locks to the restaurant, to their business, and the house. And very shortly after, we're talking hours, the judge says, no, you can't just do that. My mother's an Aries. It's just so funny because she really thought, yep, I don't need to do anything. It's so crazy you're saying this. Go ahead. Sorry.
So this eclipse, again, is telling a story. It's telling a story about the things that we hold theoretically sacred and, dear to our homes, which are our homes. And we're watching essentially homes being overthrown, right?
Yep.
By force. The laws are tools, not for justice. That's true. Absolutely.
Yep.
But if you play that other clip.
Yeah, let me play because this one.
Other clip, what the other clip does is it connects the concept of what we're talking about with the home and the stream, not the stream, the torrent of human flesh coming into this country. So
I'm going to make it bigger because that way you guys can see the subtitles because the guy's speaking in Spanish. Obviously, I understood him. And I'll give him, if you want, I'll give you my 2 cents is that one thing is to translate the actual words, but part of being an interpreter is interpreting exactly what he means. The words alone is not interpreting. Do you get what I'm saying? So the subtitles does not tell you. So we'll watch it. We'll hear it. And thank you, Robert. Here we go. Oh, wait. I'm clicking on the... Go ahead. There we go. I might need to refresh this. I'm going to refresh it. Oh, please tell me I didn't lose it. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Mi gente, he pensado invadir una casa en United States, ya que me enteré que existe una ley que dice que si una casa no está habitada, podemos expropiarla. Capichi, muchachos, aquí en United States también se aplica la de invasión de terreno. Y creo que ese es
I love the accent, Robert. United States. We gotta laugh, okay?
será mi próximo negocio. Invadir casas abandonadas, ya que me he buscado unos códigos con mis amigos africanos y me dijeron que ya llevan como 7 casas expropiadas. Y como dice el dicho, papi, hay que buscar la vuelta. Y la vuelta ahorita mismo es invadir casas, ya que nos encontramos en situación de calle y es la única manera que tenemos para no vivir en la calle y no ser una carga pública. Capichi, la ley dice...
Carga pública, are you fucking kidding me? Did you read that part about so we're not a public burden?
Yeah.
Wait till I translate. What?
Dice que las casas abandonadas, deterioradas y que esté en mal estado.
Was that house deteriorated in bad shape? No, shut the fuck up.
Podemos llegar y repararlas, vivir en ella y si podemos venderlas, hasta pedir créditos con ella. ¿Qué dicen ustedes?
Okay, let me just say, I want to hear what you have to say, and anybody in the live stream, or again, guys, feel obviously comment, share this content. But as an interpreter in court for people that squatted, and listen, just because I'm an interpreter or I was an interpreter, specifically language of Spanish, doesn't mean that all the squatters are Hispanic speaking, of Hispanic descent, right? Because there's French interpreters, Russian interpreters, you know what I'm saying? So there's squatters of all age, all races and cultures and languages, okay? So this is, to me, this is not specific, because remember, he mentioned the Africans in the video, which is true.
Yeah.
But the thing is that there was a woman who moved to Florida. She had a property manager. First of all, I got thousands of stories, but just this one. She goes to Florida, has a property manager managing her property. I guess he didn't do his job. Long story short, no, I take it back. This specific story was these tenants that had been there for like 20, almost 30 years. And they would fix things. And, typically you fix something and the landlord either takes it off your rent, you show them a receipt, right? Or they reimburse you, whatever the agreement is. They just assumed when she was ready to sell the house that they weren't going. So different type of squatters of these, of people coming in, like he's saying, we don't want to be a public burden. But the fact that he mentioned like, well, if we have to fix it, that's literally something that's been going on way before the border invasion, where people feel entitled. That even if the landlord took money off the rent and everything for the repairs with proven receipts, they still felt emotionally attached. Are you feeling me? And that's the thing about this video, that I don't care what you read or if you want to, cut down on every word, his sentiment, the emotion that he's literally saying, if I'm an interpreter, yes, I'm going to interpret word for word what he just said, but I'm going to say it in English the way the words that you're seeing as a subtitle is different. In fact, if I played it again and I told you how I would translate the emphasis of we don't want to be a public burden, it almost sounds like not too bad. Even if you're looking at him and you don't need to know the language to understand the guy's attitude, you could sense it, right? You don't have to be a psychic to sense it, right? We all have, emotional intelligence, whether we're aware of it or not. But he literally is like, I do believe that he doesn't want to be a public burden in the sense that he's like letting people know, look, we're not the enemy. We're not trying to ruin your neighborhoods. We're not trying to necessarily be the aggressors or thugs, gangsters, whatever. But he's saying that we're alone. Nobody cares about us. We already know, especially if we're illegal. And here's a loophole. But what I didn't like is that his emotion in the video was, we're out. We're going to fucking fight to death.
I think the word invasion is probably pretty clear. And he uses it at the beginning of the video.
But then he says we don't want to be a public burden.
No, I get it.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be treated like a piece of shit on the street. I get it. But the fact that army nature, talk about combative, Aries. Okay.
Yeah.
I can go on, but
he also looks like he could be a drag queen.
You're right. Put some makeup on that pretty boy.
Oh,
yeah.
He's
with
ready
the bald
to go.
head, little wig.
Yeah. So again, just to do the astrological math, right? Where is the eclipse coming from? It's coming from the south.
Yes.
It comes right in from Sinaloa, land of the cartel, comes through Texas. What is the fourth house of the United States? It is Aries. Right? So
that's true, right? Because we're a Cancer country, right? July 4th.
Right.
What's America's ascendant?
The theoretical rising sign of the United States is Sagittarius.
That's what I was going to say. Go ahead.
So it's not a perfect, whole sign chart.
Yeah.
So part of United States fourth house, I believe, starts off in Pisces, but Aries is in there, right? Aries is in there. So the eclipse is coming through the fourth house of the United States. And this is going to be an evolving story. Now, there's So a number of different things going on. Obviously, since we're still in the ongoing stages of a cultural and political revolution, and we are.
Yeah, yeah.
If people don't understand that, you better get it fast.
Yes.
And that all started in the summer of 2020. And they started to tear down the statues and burn and loot. And then an election evaporated right before our very eyes. And the theoretical candidate that most of us believe won was not allowed to win that election.
That's right.
And this is what you call the overthrow of the government. So it's been ongoing. So when you go back and look at the Bolshevik Revolution, like the Bolshevik Revolution doesn't happen overnight. It culminates in 1917, but it starts a few years before that.
That's right.
So
That's right.
when you see what's happening here, this is not something that's indistinct. It goes back to 2020 and what happened in 2020, in the summer of 2020. This is ongoing. And one of the things that obviously the communists cannot stand is personal property rights.
That's right.
So this is a very bold, breach of an institution that in this country we hold dear to our hearts, to be able to own property and for it to be secure in our sanctuary, right? So these are the barbarians at the gates. And this is exactly what's happening. And this eclipse, again, mirrors the exact thing that we're talking about. The other thing that's really interesting and kind of went under the radar is that there was a major change in the commission structure of realtors recently, like within the last, I think, week. And I actually ran into the guy who was our buying agent. He helped us find this place. And I talked to him, and we talked a little bit about this, the change of the commission structure in real estate. And I said, well, how's that going to work for you? And he said, well, it'll be okay for me because I'm established and we negotiate commissions anyway. I said, well, what about people that aren't established or are part-timers? He said, they're fucked. Right. So that's another kind of affront, right, on not just property rights, but people who are in the business of the buying and selling of property. Now you throw in BlackRock, who's been gobbling up, right, residential property like crazy since 2020. And you can begin to see a pattern here. And it's what we're dealing with is asymmetric war. Like it's asymmetric warfare. And this is the next battlefront that we have to deal with. And it's like you won't know that you're in a war until it comes to your front door. And that's what that woman is going through right now. Right? And here's another part. So let's say you wanted to rent your house out. Who's to say that the people you're renting your house out to don't pull that shit? So
That's
now,
the thing. Exactly what I just said.
Now, as a property owner, and people in the United States have profited. Real estate has been about the only thing that the modern American has been able to kind of get in on.
That's right.
Right. So now, when you see stuff like that, how eager are you to rent something out to somebody, and with the chance that you may never get it back, right?
No.
Right. So that puts a damper on the market, doesn't it? The other thing too, and here's the other part. Do you even want to leave your house? Right. That's like the next phase.
Yeah, you can't even go on vacation.
Go on vacation, and guess what? You know, Juan and Diego and Maria are now, you know, claiming this is their house, right? This has major.
I don't know why that was funny. Juan and Diego. That was good. That was cute. I like that.
No, seriously, this has major ramifications.
Yeah.
Because it throws us into a low.
But it could be, you know, Abdul.
Could
you
be.
know, or it could be like, I don't know, any an African name. You know what I'm saying?
Tariq. But no, what it does, it
Dr.
creates a low trust society.
It's funny because somebody wrote, it's funny, Michael, I just thought about you today, weirdly. He interned for me. He was a good kid. He wrote that using astrology to justify and reinforce xenophobic, and you know, I know, oh shit, I don't know how that, I don't even know where that came from. I'm trying to click on his thing. He goes, yeah, using astrology to justify and reinforce xenophobic narratives is something new. And I'm like, I know it's xenophobic. I go, and while you were talking, I Googled
Well, I'm
it.
glad I was able to introduce him to something new.
But I'm going, what do you mean? Suffering from
This is not xenophobic.
exactly. This got
Michael,
nothing. It's like either you.
I suggest you take your head out of your rectum.
There you go. Thank
Get
you.
your head-
Hey,
Michael, get your head out of your asshole.
what the
and
fuck? This
come
has
to
got
the
nothing to
fucking
do with
party
that.
With the rest of us, okay? Or maybe better yet, Michael, why don't you go find that guy in the video and let him come and live with you for a while?
You know what? 100%. Michael, I think that would be a great experience. Honestly. And by the way,
Michael, there's
Michael,
enough
you know, I
people on
know
this
he's a
video.
Libra. He's
Why
a
don't you
Libra
just bring
sun.
him on home, Michael? Introduce him to the family.
Oh shit. But Michael, I love your he's almost always combative, like, and which I love. Cause you know, who the fuck wants an echo chamber? But my whole thing is, one thing is you just like to, you know, pick our brain or, you know, give us a different perspective. But I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, okay, as a translator, and I know what xenophobic means, I'm like, well, maybe I'm missing the boat. Because, you know, they keep changing the meaning of words, okay? But let me tell you guys, for all of you, Michael, number one, you, baby. As an interpreter, we don't get woke in fucking court, okay? It has to be, first of all, even if anybody in the courtroom challenges me or any interpreter for any language, the reason why I always win is because I have a background in Greek and Latin. Number one. Number two. And I used to teach languages. So when an attorney that thinks they speak Spanish or whatever, they speak French or German or whatever, and they're like, oh, Your Honor, that's not what my client said. I'm like, okay, let's go, baby. Let's go. I always win because I don't say shit unless I know what the fuck it means or how to use it in a sentence. So the woke shit, just let everybody know, please. That shit doesn't work in the real world. As much as the TV will show you this court case, this one, George Floyd, whoever the fuck, I'm telling you straight up, stop with this shit. Because in real life, and I mean, it's still happening in the USA to this moment, at this very second. I got tons of interpreters calling me all the time, asking me for advice and intel if they fucked up or they think they made a mistake or they're going to get sued. I always go back to the history of every word, every letter that you use. When people say to me, oh, do you really speak Spanish? Like, because you have like this accent, because you're like you have a lisp. Listen, bitches, that shit that they told you that it came from some Spanish king that had a lisp is bullshit. Okay? We can go into that some other day. But at the end of the day, I'm getting very passionate about this shit. Because again, anybody can change the meaning of something. Well, let me tell you guys that nothing in the dictionary, not the American dictionary, not the Spanish dictionary, or any dictionary, it has to be utilized. Like the word F-U-C-K, I believe that's now in the dictionary, but it wasn't when it first came upon. And when it first came to the scene, it had to be used for a long time, and it had to be a common consensus before they put it in the dictionary. Matter of fact, why don't you guys look up Merriam-Webster and who the fuck actually wrote the dictionary? For example, I'm just telling you, know your words. Because if you can fucking disagree with me, I could be wrong in many fucking things. But when it's got to do with language, you best fucking do your work, motherfuckers. And that's with all the love in my heart. Because you're making it fucked up for people that literally get screwed because they can't speak a language in court. And that if they have a shitty interpreter, they can fucking lose their life. They can go to jail. They can get all kinds of fucked up. Do you understand me? Enough with this fucking woke shit. Okay, I'm sorry, Robert.
No, that's all right. No. I mean, look, I live in Texas. I'm surrounded by Mexican Americans. And they feel the exact same way that I do. Right? Are they xenophobic? If I describe the astrological
well said.
And they followed the trail, they followed the path, would they be xenophobic? No, they have the exact same concerns that I do. Right? Exact same concerns that I do.
Yeah,
and I do my best to be neutral. Right?
They don't want their house being taken over either.
You know, a long time ago, I through my blog and my shows, I had somebody leave a comment that they accused me of watching Fox News.
Somebody accused you?
Yeah. And it's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I wouldn't be caught dead watching Fox News.
Right.
But people tend to grab easy labels. Right, because it makes their understanding of the world theoretically more efficient or more binary. Right? Oh, he's saying something that pings something inside of me, so he must be in this bucket. So I'll put him in this bucket. Right, and so I've had to deal with that for a long time. And it's like, no, I'm not. I do my best to be as neutral as possible, and at the same time, truth is truth. And if you don't have the ability to stand on truth, then what do you stand on? And truth is not ideology.
That's right. That's right.
It is not ideology. So it's funny,
Here's to you, Robert.
Thanks. Thanks.
It's funny,
like I have Christian people, who, if they know that I'm an astrologer, right? Like, oh, he's of the devil. He's of the devil, he's practicing, the occult. And I like a lot of what Christians have to say. Not all of it, but I like a lot of it. I believe in a lot of the principles, right? But then I get into the truth, like lane, and people mostly in the astrology world, they're like, he's a Fox News guy, right? So it's a really weird place to be. And I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. I'm used to it. And what I found is that when I started going into astrology and looking at it from a different perspective and being able to talk about things, because when I first started out with astrology, it was very new age, right? Very much. There were people like Liz Green and Alan Oken who talked more about sort of the psychological aspects of astrology. But by and large, it was really new agey and like, Goddish shit. Right. It was very, and when I, got my baptismal waters, it was in astrology. It was in California, within hailing distance of Marin County. So I was in that world. And so what I started to do and talk about was things that were very different in terms of approach, in terms of noticing perspective. And it made me a bit of an outcast because when people would talk about the new age, they talked about it in, of course, these very Atlantean, utopianistic kind of kinds of terms. And
Yeah.
when I began to examine the potential for the new age, I saw it as being much darker and much more centered around things like control, ubiquitous systems, technology that intrudes into our lives, that connects us into a grid, right? I began to talk about trans culture. This is back in 2010, 2011. I began to talk about trans culture and how trans culture would become part of the new age, and that trans culture would lead to transhumanism. You know, trans culture would just be kind of a short bus ride. I mean, these are the things that I was talking about. And when I was on Gaia TV, I did a show about the dark new age, or the new dark age. And lo and behold, look around us, right? Look what's happening. Locus of control, 24/7 panoptical society.
100%.
Where
I don't
everything
know.
is tracked. Everything is tracked and traced. And new technology is inserted, and it's all for your safety. It's all for your benefit. Oh, but somehow it's going to make our worlds better and more connected, right? Back when I was talking about it, it was very unpopular.
Yeah, I didn't know you then, but you're right.
It was very unpopular. But
Yeah.
here we are, right? Here we are. So I don't have a problem with having an unpopular opinion. And
I think that's great.
I've
That's why I
been
love
doing
you.
this. I've been doing this long enough, in public enough, that my track record, when it comes to being predictive or getting ahead of the curve, is really good.
No, you're yeah, dude. You're batting. What was
Really,
it? Batting 1,000? Is
I'm
how
not
they say
batting 1,000. There's some things that I got wrong, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, I really thought they were going to slip Nikki Haley in the back door.
it? You did. I remember you said that.
I did.
You did.
And
Because
part
her
of that
chart
was-
looked very.
Part of it was her astrology,
Yeah.
and the other part was that she was going to be the compromise candidate between the Republicans and the Democrats, and she checked all these boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really her astrology. Well, it was Pluto, and it was all or nothing. Well, it looks like Nikki got the nothing. So I've been wrong on some things.
Yeah, but you're pretty.
But I've been a lot more right than I've been wrong, and
Yeah, a lot more.
I'm not afraid to admit that. So I'm, just do the math. Just do the math. Look at what's happening. Look at the aspects. Look at the transits. Add them all up, and then you're going to get your grocery bill.
Robert, listen, I love you so much. Thank you so much for giving me your time today, because I got to wrap this up, because I was actually going to go to this whole James O'Keefe, going to the Bohemian Grove. Remember the whistleblower?
Right.
So, again, nothing to do with today's eclipse, but in a nutshell, are we on the same page? We don't have to agree, but I do believe that based on our conversation, that we do know that this eclipse is super important, but not one that everybody should be afraid and hide.
Well, it's a big deal, and we're headed into this election season, right? And this eclipse is like carrying us into the election season. Oh, everything just froze.
Yeah, I could still hear you, but you did freeze.
Yeah, why don't you end the show? This is
To be continued, but everyone, Robert Phoenix, you can find him on Twitter. I'll put all the links in the description below. FYI, if you want to get some clues about your life, direction, anything, I can't even tell you how amazing Robert is. And I know from my own experience, I highly recommend that you contact Robert, not just follow him. But anyway, I'll put all the links in the description below. Robert, you're the best. And I knew we were not going to be able to, talk about end times or, something is amazing. And Like, I'm grateful that we're going through this, by the way. Wait, are you still there?
It's all part of the plan.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm excited. But I love you so much for giving me the time, and I wanted to make sure that we got here and we did this before the 8th of April because I'm that passionate about the feelings I'm getting from April 8th, you know? Not to install fear, but to be like, this is no joke. This shit is fucking real. Anyway, I love you. And everyone, Robert, well, at least Robert and I, we're going to peace out. Thank you, Robert, so much. I love you so much. And everyone, thank you for being with us. Make sure to comment even after this live stream. Keep them coming. You know your comments are my fuel, and I will respond to them. And reach out to Robert, follow him, and let me know you did. Tag me. Much love.
Bye, Olga.
Bye, everyone.